Do you find it easy or hard to make a decision? Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is something I struggle with all the time. I'm not going to lie, but I can share with you some things that I think don't work and some things that I think do work in this next video. People usually like to do these pro and cons lists, which my analytical mind used to like. And what I found is that I would get to the very bottom of the page, where you're like 20 reasons why, and then 20 reasons why not, and then there's no tiebreaker. And it's just this huge list of more things to consider. I don't, in my experience, think that's a great way to handle certain kinds of decisions. And so I think that you might be here because you're wondering, how do I know if I'm making the right decision? So let's start there. Let's challenge what is right. What is it that you're trying to decide, and what makes it right or wrong? How will you know that you've made the right decision? Something to consider is the programming of where you are right now. So something being right could have some sort of sense of programming on top of that. What do I mean by that? Well, what does your family think would be right about taking that job in San Francisco? Would your friends think would be right about dating that guy? Whatever it is, there's a right and a wrong if you're asking, how do I know if I'm making the right decision? What's right? Any mistake or any choice or any failure, all of those things are all change backable. I just made up a word, but really, making a decision, making it right, you can always change your mind later, and you can, for the most part, if it's not irreversible, you can do something about it if that turns out not to be the right one. Okay, the second thing to consider is paying attention to angst. How do you feel about this decision that you're making? Where is it causing you angst? Where's the rub? That's going to give you an indicator of what's most important about this decision. The angst can show you what is most likely pointing in the direction of the right one, because maybe there's some angst like, oh no, what will everybody think? Or, oh no, what if I can't get this again? Or, something along those lines where there's a rub of angst. But angst could also be that you really, really want something, and so that's the right decision, and you're not allowing yourself to feel that it's the right decision. That's the angst. So I want to talk about ways of tuning into your decision-making process. If you've watched any of these videos that I've done here on this channel, you'll hear me talking a lot about calibrating. So what do I mean by calibrate? Well, let's look it up. Okay, so to calibrate means to mark a gauge or an instrument with a standard scale of readings. It correlates the readings of an instrument with those of a standard in order to check the instrument's accuracy. It's to adjust experimental results, to take external factors into account, or to allow comparison with other data. Or it's to carefully assess, set, or adjust something abstract. So how I like to use it is exactly that, and also adding in that caliber, the word caliber, means of high quality. To calibrate also can mean at very fine levels of detail. So when we're calibrating quality against a standard, and also in something abstract, that to me defines really the calibration of the human to the divine, so that you are calibrated to something that is divine. And who doesn't want that? To really truly be operating from that level, to be a vessel of divine in this world. So calibrating oneself and their energy flow to allow for that, bringing those two together in line and bridging the gap so that it's so finely calibrated to a high standard is what I call integration coaching. So in this conversation, what calibration is important for is really calibrating to the highest outcome. So when you think about that decision that you're trying to make, what would be the highest outcome? How can you calibrate to what would be the best for everybody involved? What would be the very highest result for you, one of the ways that I like to do that is by meditating, or even just sort of placing my hands on my chest and on my body and just really feeling like, okay, this choice, and I'll think of one, not from my pros and cons list, but really from the choices that are available to me. Is this the right choice? Or does this choice feel good? Or does this choice feel rich with energy? Does it feel juicy? Does it feel like the highest version possible if I step into this decision? And you'll know, your body will tell you yes or no. Your soul will tell you yes or no. And as you begin to calibrate more and more and more and more, these decisions just become very easy to make. They just kind of flow and fall out of you. So making the right decision is in of itself a practice of coming into calibration. And what this is really pointing to is making the decision not from a rational and a mind place, but from a heart-centered place. And that's a very different outcome. That's a very different feeling. That's a very different way of getting to your answer. So I want to ask you, what feels right now? Considering this conversation, what's right about the decision? What's wrong about the decision? Is there even a right or wrong about the decision? I bet you'll make the right one. If you're the kind of person with a fire in your belly and you know that there's a better way to do things, then you're gonna love this. I have a fun and free diagnostic tool for you to use to see if you're calibrated to your highest flow of energy. If you've watched any of my other videos on this channel, you'll know that I talk a lot about energy centers for people and organizations and how they're either harnessing their flow or experiencing leaks. It's an easy tool that you'll get a lot of benefit from, and you can use it over and over again. Head to the link below to download it and get calibrating. It's been so fun being on Michelle's channel. She is the epitome of a great coach and mentor, so this has been a privilege. I hope to see you in my next video.